How about this? World champion rodeo athlete. Known throughout the rodeo circuit worldwide as the Cowboy in Pink. And by the way, you'll get to hear that story. He's a husband. He's a father of 3 young children. He's the owner of several 7-figure businesses. Some of them he runs with his wife, who is also an award-winning country music recording artist from Australia. And on top of all of that, he's a Christian dad of deep, deep faith. This podcast is your introduction to Tyson Durfey. Now, we first had a chance to listen to Tyson at a marketing conference. And after hearing him on stage and then getting to chat with him for a little while, hearing his story, we just knew he aligns so well with our 6 pillars that we just had to get together and have a deeper conversation. And this is that. So we got a chance to sit down with Tyson for a little while and talk while he was getting ready to do television work, squeezed us into his schedule, and it was fantastic. So take a listen to Tyson Durfey. Stick around to the end when Tyson gives you some great thoughts on how to give your wife security, because that is your job as a man. Hello and welcome to the Balanced Business Dad Podcast. This podcast is just one part of the Balanced Business Dad movement. This movement provides a platform of the important pillars of life while building this council of dads to support each other as we work to balance our lives. The 6 pillars of life that we strive to balance are our faith, our health, our marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, and our business. We are here to build a council of dads to celebrate wins and as well as to share the challenges of being a husband and a father, and all the while working to keep our pillars in balance. The goal of the Balanced Business Dad movement is for dads to be better in all things, balanced, because everyone in our lives deserves it.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of The Balanced Business Dad. I'm here, your host, Dustin Hogue, and with always, my co-host, Mr. RJ Campbell. RJ, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Hello, gentlemen.
Guys, you are in for a treat today. We have a husband and a father, of course, on here, but a champion rodeo athlete, which is awesome, a performance coach, a serial entrepreneur, and guys, just a really great guy that RJ and I were blessed enough to see him speak at a conference a few months back. And as soon as we saw him speak, we knew we had to get him on here. And he has an extremely busy schedule and yet blessed us with this time. So guys, welcome to the show, Tyson Durfey. How are we doing today?
We are doing incredible. I'm excited to be on the show. Man, I love what you guys are all about. So it was an honor, when you guys reached out. It's an honor to get on here and share that man wisdom, that dad wisdom, if you know what I mean.
I like that man wisdom. Yes. If only our wives heard us say that, right? So that's awesome. Tyson, again, thank you so much. We're just kind of jump in with it and start kind of where you are today. What are you doing right now in your business life, your professional life, personal life, kind of what's going on right now?
Yeah. So got a lot of irons in the fire, like a lot of men and dads out there. We have basically 3 companies that we run full time. My wife handles a couple of them. I handle some of them. We have a baby products company we called Shea Baby, and it's in almost every Western retailer nationwide. We have hundreds and hundreds of retailers for that business. We have a company that's called Shea Michelle Buckles. We do tens and thousands of belt buckles for rodeo athletes, for organizations, anybody who wants a belt buckle. We do that. So nice. We have a leather products business where we do belts and briefcases and all kinds of stuff like that. Then I do mentoring, coaching, as well as a world champion rodeo athlete, and do a lot of TV work within our industry. And so we stay incredibly busy, and most importantly, we still figure out how to manage it all and have an incredible relationship and an awesome family life.
Which is the most important. I love that. And also an extreme faith-based life. Like it's always in the forefront of that, which is just awesome. And that's what I really touched our hearts when we heard you speak. So that is a lot and a mouthful, right? And how did you get there? Right? Because not a lot of people have all these things, and you're doing all of them and you're killing it all.
Yeah, well, it wasn't always that way, right? I'm 39 years old. I just turned 39 a couple days ago, and I celebrated my birthday by jumping out of an airplane.
Of
And
course.
by the way, I'm deathly scared of heights. Like I got to the door and pucker factor was like level 10. And I'm like, no. Yes. And then we jumped out. And it was so fun. But I tell you that because I'm always testing what I'm scared of. My whole life, I'm always testing what I'm scared of. I'm scared of heights. Let's go paragliding. Let's go jump out of an airplane. I'm, scared of performing in front of thousands of people as an athlete. Okay, I've performed in front of millions now at this point. Now that fear doesn't conquer me. Speaking on stage, deathly scared of speaking on stage.
Couldn't tell at all.
But through repetition and practice and work and dedication, I get to where I speak okay on stage. And so the truth is, it wasn't always this way. I mean, my family started in Missouri in a barn. You guys have seen the photo where my mom, my dad, my two brothers, the barn that they lived in November and December in northwest corner of Missouri, northwest corner of Missouri. And it's very cold there. And so that's kind of where I get my start is like super humble beginnings, never enough money. I mean, constantly struggling, constantly in lack. And, when you grow up in an environment that's volatile, where there's a little bit of chaos, parents are, fighting a lot, and there's some alcohol involved, and it was the Wild West, in my house growing up. So I always say that my parents, who are incredible people, incredibly great people, they weren't meant for each other, but and they went on to get divorced, but they're incredible people. But they always taught me what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. Okay. So my dad taught me to work my butt into the ground, like give 100% for everything that you do if you're passionate about it. But also, he wasn't real good about like managing his time and spending time with his kids or doing anything. And so I thought, you know what? I thought I knew everything from my dad, but I'm also going to learn from my dad by doing the opposite of what he did in certain areas.
Yeah.
So my parents taught me everything I know, but it wasn't always by example. Sometimes it was just by recognizing that they wouldn't serve the future, and then I just did the opposite. And I just never quit. I never gave up. And I think, since COVID, like it's been a wild ride, for all of us. Our businesses were shut down. My entire industry was shut down because it's a public thing, public gatherings.
Yeah.
And to come back off all that, understanding what I know now and watching the growth of our businesses and the growth of my real estate portfolio and the growth of all that stuff, it's just like, you just can't throw in the towel no matter how hard it gets. And I'm not smart. Every learning disability class, I'm ADD as all get out. I am dyslexic. I am not smart, but God gave me the ability to just pound it out and work my ass off. And to be honest with you, that's really what I owe my success to, is just the ability to keep going through struggle.
Just outwork the next guy.
Yeah. It sounds cliche, but to be honest with you, I didn't become a world champion at 20 years old. I wasn't like the young hot shot. I was 32. I'd made the Super Bowl. Listen, for those of you that don't know rodeo, I had made the Super Bowl in my sport 9 times before I became the champion.
Oh, wow.
Could you imagine if Tom Brady had made the Super Bowl 9 times and didn't win the championship?
Right.
So I got my ass kicked a lot. But I had faith in God that it was going to happen, and I just never quit. And so that's really, how I became the guy I am. Plus, through dumb luck, I did something for charity and for a good thing, and I started the Cowboy in Pink thing back there.
Yeah.
And I did it out of just fun, trying to help somebody. It was part of my why, and it transformed me and it magnified me because nobody was doing it. And a lot of people didn't get it. Like, why are you wearing a pink shirt all the time? Well, I told that story 10,000 times, but I came with a giving hand. I was doing it to help somebody, but it ended up branding me and made people remember me.
Interesting.
And so why did you wear the pink shirt?
Yeah. So for the audience that don't know, I was training for our Super Bowl. It's called the National Finals Rodeo. It actually starts today. So I'm getting off this, and we're getting ready to do a ton of TV work for that. But I was getting ready to compete at the National Finals Rodeo early on in my career. Like, I think it was year 1 or year 2 in my career. And I qualified for the National Finals, which is the top 15 in the world standings. So it's not easy to qualify. It's incredibly difficult. Some guys go for their entire career and never qualify. So I kind of like made that first rung. It's kind of like in business, you make your first $1 million. It's like, right. Oh, I did it. I finally did it. But there's still a lot of challenges, right? You realize that, there actually has to be profit off that $1 million. And there's all these other challenges that come along with it, right?
Absolutely.
So I qualified for the finals, and my dad and stepmom came home from the doctor. And my dad owns a training facility for athletes. And when I say that, it's not like some big fancy training. It's a barn. It's like a barn with dirt and cows and horses. And we just train all the time. Horses.
Love that.
Yeah. And so he comes home, and my dad is like this cowboy hat, boots, spurs, long sleeve shirt, just tough as nails, raised by a World War II veteran, my grandfather, first wave Normandy Beach D-Day. Like, wow. So my dad in nature is a very tough individual. And so he comes home, and I could tell he was just like shaking, really quiet. You know, guys like that, they get quiet. They don't talk about things. They internalize. And he's super quiet. I'm like, hey, Dad, what's going on? And he's like, well, your stepmother might have cancer. Mm-hmm. And it really rocked him. And it rocked me. And I was really upset because they had just gotten married. They hadn't been married that long. And it was just shaking for the whole family, right? Anybody that's been through something like that understands. And so I go home, or I'm at home. I finish like my training. We take care of the animals. We do all my stuff. And I'm thinking my whole time, my mind is like going crazy. Like, how can I help? How can I lift their spirits? How can I do this? So the next day I came up, it was like that light bulb just went off in my head. And I was like, why don't you just wear a pink shirt and dedicate it to her and do it all 10 rounds of our Super Bowl? Not thinking about anything other than helping her. That was the only thing I thought about. So I went to her and I told her, and she was down and upset. And she just it picked her up. All of a sudden it took her from thinking about this thing, this label that somebody's put on her, and it gave her something else to focus her attention on. And she started feeling better. She started just like being excited. She was able to bide her time, not worrying about if she was going to live or die, but bide her time by, thinking about me competing in the NFR and all the stuff. And so I just noticed that massive shift in her. And the light bulb click for me was like, hey, your actions make a difference to other people. It's not just about. And wow. Long story short, I wore the shirt at the NFR. I got a ton of publicity for it. I had a really good finals. When I say NFR, I mean National Finals Rodeo. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada. Right now, there will be 500,000 cowboys in town, and it'll be a sea of cowboys. It's just anybody's been to Las Vegas in December knows it's rodeo time. So it really transformed her. I was going to do it one time. That was it. Wasn't going to do it anymore. Then all of a sudden, the next competitions, the very next year, there were like people coming up to me like, hey, where's the pink shirt? You helped my mom. Hey, where's the pink shirt? My sister had breast cancer, and you really lifted her spirits. And so this just kept happening and happening over and over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, God, I was like, am I supposed to do this all the time? I was like, why not? So that was 2007 or 2008. It's been like 14 years I've been competing in the bright pink shirt now. So most of my career has been in that bright pink shirt back there.
That's amazing. And bright pink sticks out a little bit around cowboys. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of, I always, in marketing and business, it's always best to go with the flow, right? So people, like if they're educated on a certain product, you might have a certain way of delivering the product, but you don't want to have to re-educate the consumer from zero, right? You never want to have to do that if you're starting a business. Even if it's a great thing, let somebody else go through that terrible, terrible ride of re-educating all the customers why they need to buy.
Absolutely.
And rodeo had just adopted a campaign called Tough Enough to Wear Pink.
Oh, okay.
It was in the fight of breast cancer awareness. So instead of wearing, a different color for her, I was like, Mary Beth, I'm going to do this. And specifically, just to wrap up that story, she did not have breast cancer. She had 2 grapefruit-sized tumors that were growing on her ovaries and in her body. They ended up, after the finals, removing the tumors. They did not have cancer in them, and she's been cancer-free or from the threat of cancer for, probably
amazing
13, 14 years now. So the story for us did very well. But that's why I did it. And rodeo had started the Tough Enough to Wear Pink campaign. And so I'm like, I'm not going to re-educate everybody as to why I'm wearing a yellow shirt or why I'm wearing a purple shirt. I'm just going to go with the flow. And everybody started noticing, it's like he's wearing it every single night, not just one day a week. And in rodeo, they were doing it, but they were doing it one day per week would be the pink day. That was it. And so when people noticed I started doing it more and more and more, a bunch of media came and it just kind of branded me. But
that's awesome. What an inspiring story. I feel like it, with that, I guess, dressing like that for your stepmom, right? For mom, stepmom. Yeah. I feel like you kind of, when you told that story, you probably performed a little better because you were doing it for now a cause. Like it was greater than you, I feel like. And I know you kind of mentioned that on stage, and that's just truly amazing. And thank you, Jesus, that she's cancer-free and everything seems to be going well there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, guys. And to any of the listeners, you should always tie your actions to something greater than yourself.
Yes.
That's why, like if you're like in business or you're doing something and you're just like, I just want to make, if I make $1 million or if I make 200,000, my life will be perfect. Trust me, your life will still have crap in it. With money, without money, with the big house, without the little bit, the house. Like you need something that will compel you to move even when you feel like you're stuck in the mud. And for me, when I tied my Y to that pink shirt, initially it was for my stepmom. And then it was for all the other ladies. And then when I started visiting cancer research centers, it was for those people. And then I was like, you know what? I'm, supremely rocked by personal growth, Tony Robbins, all these individuals. I'm like, I'm going to start sharing motivation and little PCACs that allow me to, be the best athlete in the world. And I'm going to share them with people who maybe would never find out these little secrets and these little hacks and all this stuff that I learned over the years of, literally thousands of competitions, thousands. And so I've always tied my roping, my motivation, my social media is always, it's never about how great I am or what I did or making more money. Like I'm not the guy that's going to be on Instagram with a jet in a Bentley and all that. That's just not me, right? I always make it about the other person. And this is a huge, huge, huge lesson in branding and marketing yourself. If you're doing something, whether it's your job, you're posting to social media, you always make it about the other people. It should never be about you. And
write that down, dads. Yeah.
If it is about you, you should tell a story that makes it relatable to somebody else. Like, so today I posted about, hey, it sucks being on the sidelines, watching these amazing athletes go and compete for a world championship. It's not me anymore. I'm not there. I'm somewhat, semi slowed down from competing. So I'm not going to be in the top 15 in the world.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I get to watch all these amazing people do their thing. I get to be a spectator and like think about who's going to be the world champion on TV, telling people. On the flip side of it, there is a blessing within this, right? And it's just honesty. And when I made that post today, like people can relate to that because maybe they were a school teacher and they want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe they spent their whole life playing football and they graduated high school and they played college ball and they didn't get drafted. They didn't get to go to any arena league or didn't get to make that next step. And like that transition is hell for men. When your identity is rooted in that thing, then it's easy to get stuck. That's why you must always make it about somebody else. That keeps you from being stuck in the mud. A life that has purpose and passion and growth and helping other people is a life that is fulfilled. I promise you that.
Absolutely. And that was great. Guys, write that down. Go back and listen to that because there were some beautiful nuggets there. Tyson, I may be wrong about this question, but is personal growth common between rodeo athletes? Like, I guess we don't see that. Obviously rodeo athletes aren't as mainstream as so many other athletes out there. So I could just be completely wrong about that. Mm-hmm. But most people, I'm going to say, maybe I'm wrong, have this perception, cowboys are the rough and tough guys. Yeah. They're in their sport, but I never would have expected, a rodeo athlete to go into the personal growth and want to motivate other people and things like that. Is that common or kind of an anomaly there?
Well, it's among the champions, it's common.
Okay. Makes sense.
Among my friends who are the best on planet Earth, like personal growth, whether you read a Tony Robbins book or a Brendan Burchard book or an Ed Milet book or a TD Jakes book, whatever, right. It may not come in that form.
Okay.
It came to me because I broke into a house. And you guys know the story on that. But a lot of the athletes, they're very much growth minded. They may not find it in the form of a TD Jakes, but it might come in the form of self-actualization and reflection upon one's actions and then changing direction with a little bit of a correction. So the guys like, Sage Kimzey, who is a like 7 or 8 time world champion, the greatest bull rider on planet Earth right now. I had no idea, and we've been friends for years, the level of this guy's brain until I interviewed him and seeing the way that he was interested in growth, right? And so it's yes and no. A lot of the champions self-reflect. They find growth, whether it be through a book or it be through just self-reflection and changing that course of trajectory. But as far as like sitting down and going to an event with a sea of people, probably not too common. I mean, right. I'm definitely one of the few on that side of it. Yeah. But it's definitely shifted my life. I mean, to be honest with you, without Jesus, without personal growth, I wouldn't be a world champion. I would already be divorced. I would be I would be addicted to alcohol, and I would be a mess.
Right.
Right. Because in my family, that's very strong. And I had to break that like cycle, that curse, that whatever you want to call it. I had to break it. And so even still to this day, as a guy that has multiple 7-figure businesses, that's in the public eye, that continues to try to lift and motivate and help other people, I still have that pull.
Absolutely.
I still want to go chew Copenhagen. I still want to go drink. But the day that I won the world championship, I said, God, I will never touch either one of those things ever again because I don't want a 12-year-old seeing me do that.
Wow.
And I understand. So part of my success and what I teach people is that you have to tie what you do to something else because you'll fail yourself. And you'll start that internal dialogue. Oh, I'm not good enough. I should have known I'd end up like my dad, or I know that what they said I was no good, never going to amount to anything, or I couldn't make this money or whatever. Like we all have that dialogue.
Right.
It's just how you handle it. And if it's just you, like discipline will fail you. You're going to eat that chocolate bar. You're going to not exercise. Like you will. Discipline, it will fail you, but routines and structure will serve you every day of your life. So tie it to somebody else. Anytime I go to do something bad or something I don't think I should do or get a hot temper, I think, you know what? I could pass this down to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't deal with this, they're going to get it. I will fail me all day of the week, but I ain't going to fail my little girl. I'm not going to fail my son. I'm not going to fail my wife. So
true.
Long answer. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's a great answer. So I think of the number of athletes that we've heard in the past that say, I'm not a role model. Don't blame me for what I do. I'm not a role model. And you are just exactly the opposite. Kids are seeing me, adults are seeing me, women, men, and you're a role model and you want to be a role model and you're a good one.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I've struggled with a little bit too, because role model is great as long as it's the truest form of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm reinventing Tyson 2.0 right now. Tyson 2.0 likes doing super hard stuff that, whether it's, I did a Navy SEAL Hell Week last year. I came back with, 3 cracked ribs, a cracked Adam's apple and got knocked out once. And, a lot of the guys didn't get through it. It's hard for me to share that stuff because, and I don't talk a lot about it in the motivation because my childhood and the life or death circumstances that I faced along the way helped me become the athlete that I am too. So make sure that if you're an athlete and you want to be a role model, you can hold it for a long period of time. Don't be the nice guy one day and then just the guy that walks by the little kids and doesn't give them the time of day the next day. Like so whichever path you choose, you must be consistent with it. And if you make a change, make it a gradual change over a period of time so that your audience or your people, your family, your friends, they will follow you with it.
So true. Something I want to back up just a second is when I asked that question, your response was personal growth is common among the champions.
Yeah.
If that's not life, guys, whether it's your sport, your business, an athlete, in life, a marriage, everything, you got to have the personal growth if you want to win. That was a huge lesson to me there. And I'm a huge personal growth advocate myself. And yet when you said that, man, that really resonated with me. Because of course, personal growth is common among champions. That was huge. So I appreciate you saying that. And it was a perfect answer. It wasn't a long answer. So thank you for that. Tyson, you do a lot. And yet you're married, Faith is there, and you have kids. How do you, obviously the premise of the podcast, how do you keep it all balanced? How do you keep what's important on the forefront? Because I know you travel a lot to compete and all the other businesses. How do you keep that balance?
Well, I could give you a little fluffy answer, but to be honest with you, balance takes effort and work. You got to work your ass off for it. And people think, oh, they just got the perfect family and the perfect photos and the perfect whatever. You trust me, on the other side of that Instagram profile, there's a little bit of chaos too. Right? There's a little bit of messiness. But our Northern Star, our aligning lighthouse is always like, I want this thing. For myself, we just always stayed open with each other. Number one, like my faith is number one. Like I read your guys' 6 pillars. Mine is my faith, my family, and my finances, always in that order. Very similar to some of the stuff you guys are talking about. Yeah. And so my faith is always first. I'm open and honest with God. If I'm, excuse my French, if I'm mad at God and I'm like, I just don't freaking understand right now, I had that conversation with God. If I'm like struggling with my wife or with something for myself, I'm open, honest, transparent. I never hold anything inside.
Right.
I always keep it out in the open.
Yeah.
Where there's lack of communication, relationships end with your best friend, with your coworker, and your wife. Right. So that open communication really is what sets the ball ahead. Now, you can say, well, I tried to communicate with my wife, but she jumped down my throat every time about I try to talk about this thing. I try to talk about money and she gets pissed, right? A lot of guys can relate to that, right?
Absolutely.
2 things, gentlemen. Number one, the only thing that your wife really wants is security. That's it. You must provide physical security for your wife, and you must provide or assist in financial security for your wife as well. Now, that can look like a lot of different things. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be a millionaire. Maybe it's just like if you guys argue about money all the time, maybe you don't need to take that trip. Maybe you don't need to go fishing. Maybe you need to pick up a side hustle. Get 3 months of living expenses in an emergency fund just to give your wife like clarity and let her take a breath. Know that the house isn't going to get repoed. Let her know that the kids are going to have food on the table, right? A lot of times, and I see it all the time, men put their business ahead of their family and their wife and their kids, and they will roll every last dime into it. And I will tell you, men, and I've seen it time and time again, a woman will only take that for so long.
Yeah,
if she's feeling neglected, if she is feeling neglected and some other dude comes in there with a silver tongue and talks perfect, he's planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your job, man. It's your job, man, to wake up. You serve your family before you serve your finances. You find out what you need to do, then you get it done. I personally call it thinking on different levels. If I want my wife to do something, I start planting seeds 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ahead of time, subtly. And then after I see her start to get the picture, then I make the ask. Right. So with, there's a lot of examples, we have 3 children. My wife is an entrepreneur. She's a hustler. She's a goer, a lot like me. And for years, I was always trying to say, hey, babe, let's get somebody to help us with the kids. And she would get really upset. She'd be like, nobody else is going to raise my kids. I'm the mom. I'm going to do it all, and what that looks like is working from 6 o'clock in the morning to midnight every day. Right. As an entrepreneur. Right. And so, but after subtly bringing that up over and over and over, it took me about 2 years, but then we finally got somebody to help us a little bit. Now my wife's office is right beside the kids. So she can still be mom. She can still be there when she needs to be for the kids, but then we have somebody else that helps as well.
Yeah.
With one of our businesses. I said, babe, we really need to get a CEO in to run this business for us. Well, nobody can do what I do. I built this business. Nobody can do what I do. No, it cannot be done. I'm like, honey, if Elon Musk can build Tesla, if all these entrepreneurs can build these billion, we can figure this out. This is figure outable. And it took me 2-3 years, and now we have a CEO. And guess what? It's growing faster with the CEO than it did with us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the short answer is systems, processes, consistency, and always asking, can this be done better? And clear communication. That's how you grow multiple companies at the same time. I look at Russell Brunson, right? For those of you who don't know Russell Brunson, he's a great entrepreneur. He runs probably freaking 15 companies at once.
Mm-hmm.
But when he starts a business, he doesn't think about how can I run this business? It's how can I get an incredible product, but find somebody to run it for me.
The who, not the what. Yes.
Yep.
And that's something I'm starting to really learn. And I'm 39. I'm starting to learn it. I wish I'd have learned it at 29. Gosh.
Well, they don't teach real world business. So there's a couple things, and guys, to appreciate Tyson's time, we'll kind of wrap up with that. But you said, one of the main things that your wives or spouses are looking for is that security. We talk to a lot of dads, obviously, but a lot of business owner dads, or a lot of dads that want to be business owners, and their wives aren't necessarily on board. Yeah. Because I was one of them. Luckily, my wife was raised in an entrepreneurial family, because that conversation was much easier. When I went out on my own as a real estate agent, I was leaving a very 6-figure, high-paying, amazing job, but it was a job, to go into real estate full-time 9 months before we were getting married.
Yeah.
And she was on board, and she supported me, and she supported me through all the other chaos we've done in the last 10 years together. But we talked to a lot of dads about this exact same thing. Their spouses aren't necessarily on board. So guys, there was a lot of nuggets Tyson just said to how to make sure this works, but put those seeds in there, and also make sure that the security is still there for them, or where they feel that security. I love that.
Yeah. And can I add just something real quick to that?
Of course.
I know we all got stuff to do. But the truth is, if you can give your wife security, even as an entrepreneur, and you keep it fresh and have a little bit of spontaneity, she will stay with you for the rest of forever. The truth is, when we neglect our wives, they neglect us. Yeah. And it starts a cycle. Our wives don't feel security, and then we don't feel like the badass man in our own home. So it starts this resentment cycle, and then you get snippy, right? You say things to your wife, like you snap at her, she snaps back, and then it begins an emotional roller coaster. So the truth is, instead of saying, gosh, I just don't feel empowered in my own home, why don't you show up like a real man, give your wife some security so that she feels mentally in the space to make you feel like the man, the badass, the controller of the home, the cowboy, whatever you want to call it. I've come to recognize if we keep, I realized one time I was like, man, we bought this house and we're going, and I was at the top of the industry at what I did, not world champion yet, but real close. My wife, she, in her defense, has had 5 number ones and 2 platinum albums in Australia, where she's from. And we bought our first place, and we had all this notoriety, I guess you'd say, but zero money. We were freaking broke. And there was a lot of stress in the house. It was very, it was tension, a lot of tension. And I just began to realize this pattern. Like, the less money we have, the more insecure she is. And the more insecure that she is, the less she makes me feel like the man. So what do we do? All right, let's think about this. Maybe I need to learn how to save money. I'm an entrepreneur. Every last dime I had went into the next rental property, went into the next deal, went into the next, and I'll figure out how to make more, right? But I was neglecting her security. So I thought, okay, how do I do this? Okay, step one, let's learn how to save. And let's be comfortable with having 100, 200, 300, 400, 500,000, $1 million in the bank. Let's be comfortable with that. Because as an entrepreneur, you're thinking, I got 30 grand. I can do this deal. I can make this. I can blah, 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 blah. Or I got 100 grand. I can do this, whatever. And that's just the rat race. So what I do is we have 6 months at all times of cash in the bank. That's in the bank. We can run all of our businesses, our personal life, everything for 6 months if the world stops. No layoffs, no anything, right? That is a non-negotiable in my life because that gives my wife the security she needs to be happy. Second thing I do, how do I want her to feel even more secure? Almost every single night, I give my wife a foot rub. Almost every single night. It could be 10 o'clock. We could be exhausted. Last night we were doing accounting and all kinds of crap till like 9:30. Like, I don't miss it. It's not going to happen. I'm going to give her a foot rub. Because you know what happens after that foot rub? She's like, hey, baby, you're looking pretty hot tonight. I'm like, hey, baby, you're looking pretty hot tonight. And so there's a design for what I'm doing.
Love that.
Like, micro commitments, I essentially get to feel like the freaking man in my house. You understand the cyclical pattern? It's so obvious, but so many guys are stuck in it and they have no idea why. So if you're one of those serial entrepreneurs who is consistently broke, that's okay. It's not really your fault. The world has fed you like not the right advice, and that's okay. Peel a little bit off of that money you're making. Start saving, get comfortable, give your wife some security, do some nice things for her. Maybe bring home some flowers, rub her feet, give her a back rub, do the kids, take care of the kids, bath the kids, tell her, go take a girls' night out, whatever it is you got to do. Make her feel secure and loved. And in return, she's going to make you feel like the man.
Love it.
And that's how I operate. That's the only way I operate.
And that is amazing advice right there. And it's funny because, we are extremely blessed in life. And yet I literally started sweating a little bit and having anxiety because I'm not comfortable with that much money in the bank because I am that serial entrepreneur where I can just go do more with it. Like, I started sweating there, and yet it does make so much sense. So, these are not just for the other dads listening. These are also for the hosts too, because I'm taking a lot of notes here, guys. And
I don't want to talk over you, but I got to get this out. Yep. Like, if you don't have 6 months, it's irrelevant. If you got 3 months, you got 1 month, you got two. Like, it's about getting comfortable with having money in the bank, but not so much you get complacent. Because I've been there too. I've had, I've been so broke. I've slept in the backseat of my truck. I've had credit cards maxed out. I was in a foreign country with not enough money to come home with once.
Oh, wow.
That was bad. Right? That was bad. So from negative numbers to millions, like it's about giving your wife security. If it's 1 month of living expenses, 1 month. If it's, if you're like zero, if you're always hovering on zero, then let's figure out how to get you to, 2 weeks and then just kind of build from there. Right. I did notice myself once we got to 6 months of cash in the bank, then I got complacent. I did. I'm like, I'm good. I mean, I don't have to work for a year. All I got to do is reduce. I'm good. Right. So that's where it goes back to, if you have plenty of money, like having a sense of purpose and why you're doing it and tying the things. But the truth is give your wife security, whatever that looks like in your specific situation.
Yeah. Love it. That was amazing. Everything. I mean, there were so many nuggets here. Like I said, guys, stop, re-listen to this, rewatch it, take some notes, because I know I am, because I've learned so much in this call. Tyson, thank you so much. Yeah. Just good luck in everything you're doing. You're absolutely killing it. I love watching it. Guys, if you ever see this guy walking down at a conference with a cowboy hat on and a pink shirt, you're going to know who it is, because I remember seeing you for the first time before you were even on stage. So very recognizable. Thank you so much. RJ, go ahead and close us out.
I will, but I want to ask Tyson, so where do people find you? Yes. I know you have a podcast as well.
Yeah, so I have a podcast. To be honest with you, I haven't done it in probably a year, but there is 36 episodes on there for anybody that's in competition. I really wanted to do that to give people advice on how to get through difficult situations. I'm fixing to launch my podcast again, and it's going to be completely rebranded. I'm starting a group similar to what you guys are doing, where we do incredible cowboy stuff. So watch my YouTube channel. It's pretty new. I've been very active on Facebook, Instagram, at Tyson Durfey. And you can reach out, man. I answer every single message from all my people on Facebook, Instagram, email. I have an assistant that helps me with that all the time. So if I can ever help anybody, let me know. Reach out. I'll do all I can.
All right, good. Guys, I can testify to that, because that's how I got a hold of Tyson, is DM through Instagram, because he said, I'll return. I answer every one of them. So that's how we got the fun day to be able to hook up and talk about this. So fantastic. Thanks for being on. And guys, like we say, you like the podcast, even if you don't like the podcast, still download it and rate it, and review it, share it, all that good stuff. And the easiest way to find Dustin and I, so we have now a Facebook group, and that's the easiest way. So look us up on Facebook at The Balanced Business Dad. Join in. We got a couple hundred men that are on there and communicating and celebrating life together and supporting each other. That's the easiest and best way to get a hold of us. Always, of course, we have our website, The Balanced Business Dad, and that's where you can find the podcast, as well as Apple and Spotify and every place you would find the Balanced Business Dad podcast, like every other podcast. So reach out, and Dustin will probably tell you we have good stuff coming for next year on where this whole movement is going.
Yeah, dads, thank you so much for listening today. We do have a lot coming out. Like you said, check out that Facebook group. It's we have the council link in there, because we have joined the private group, the Balanced Business Dad Council, where so much value is being delivered there. Our retreat, let me look at the dates, is scheduled for May 5th. So Tyson, if you want to come back to Missouri, I know you're in Texas now, but I bought a little campground in Lesterville, Missouri. So kind of south central there. So we're going to have dad retreats down there. Of course, you're invited. But as well as all the other dads here, reach out to us on the group to get information about that. Guys, make it a great day, and let's just be better tomorrow than we were today.